And if you're just joining us now, if you're new to the show, please say hello in the comment thread and tell me what country you're watching from. Now I'm going to get out of my detective costume because it's time to do a little bit of answering questions about grammar. Now I think we have one here already from Eunice, who says, when I say, for example, I put something on the table, how can I show to the person I talk to that put is in the past tense? The same question for hit and similar is irregular verbs. It's a great question. Let me give you another example. One of these is past tense. One of these is simple present. Which one? Some of you know that when we pronounce simple present, we pronounce it read, right? Read. I read books. And if we are speaking about the past tense of read is read. So I'm going to put here in the color red the pronunciation. I read books. That's past tense. Sorry, did I say that? Read. I read books. And past tense is I read books. So how does the listener know? Right? Or the reader if it's written. And Jonas's example, put or hit, right? I put something on the table. Or let's say I hit baseball. The answer is fairly simple, Eunice, but it's also, Eunice says, I like the way Canadians say about. So funny. Yeah, you know, some Canadians may pronounce it about. Maybe people that live in the north, right? The north country, small towns, that maybe they pronounce about. Or maybe on the East Coast. But Canada's a big place, and the people that live in different regions have different accents. I live on the West Coast. I don't hear people saying about here. They say about. And I also grew up in Toronto area, and I don't recall people there saying about. They said about. Okay, so let's go back to Eunice's question. When we have these verbs where only the pronunciation changes, I hit the baseball, present tense. I hit the baseball, past tense. How do you know? Eunice, the answer is quite simple. In English, if you use past tense, you always, this is always true, not just with these verbs, but for all verbs, all sentences. If you use simple past, you have to include time markers or time adverbials, right? Very important. So for example, this one's past tense. How do I know? Because you're going to say the word yesterday. That makes no sense. Sorry. Let's go even further. When I was a child, when I was young. When I was young in the past, because I'm old now, when I was young, I read books all the time. That was my hobby. When I was young, I read books. I put something on the table every day. So if I wanted to express it's my routine, I do something every day, then I need a time adverb that expresses habit. Every day, I put something on the table. Now that's simple present, okay? If I said yesterday, that tells us we're talking about the past. And therefore we say I put, and that means past tense. Without that, we assume it's the present. Okay, the present doesn't need this kind of time adverb. I read books. That's present tense. I assume that that is present tense. That's my habit. Okay? That's my routine. Why do I assume that? Well, because when you use simple past, you have to include time markers that indicate it's the past. That's true for these verbs. It's also true for regular verbs like I learned Japanese. In English, if you say I learned Japanese, right away the listener is going to ask you when. When? Because in English, past tense always goes with a time marker. We need to know that this was the past. We need to know that this started and ended in the past. So we have to include a time marker. In 2005, I learned Japanese at university. Let's say that. In 2005, I learned Japanese. Yesterday, I studied for the test. If I just say, I studied for the test, my friend's going to immediately say, oh, when? Right? If you don't have time information and you're talking about the past, you need to use present perfect, right? I have visited Japan. I'm just expressing my experience, okay? So you're asked the question, how do we know if it's past tense or present tense? If it's past tense, you must use time markers like that, or like that. All the time. Now, in some conversations, you don't include the past time marker in every sentence because the other person already knows you're talking about the past. For example, when you ask your friend on Monday, hey, what did you do on the weekend? Well, now every sentence they say is going to be past tense, the weekend. So you might say, oh, I visited my mother, period. I watched a movie, period. I played baseball, period. Because we started the conversation by asking, what did you do last weekend? So the time marker either has to be in the sentence or it has to be understood in the context of the conversation. It's a kind of stereotype, Pallavi, right? You know, a generalization about Canadian accent. I'm not sure if it's accurate. Not all Canadians say that. And Americans believe we say that. Americans love to make fun of Canadians, right? The truth is, Canadians love to make jokes about Americans too. We're kind of like little brother and big brother, and we're always fighting and we're always joking at each other's expense, but we're connected and we love each other. But I often make fun of American grammar because they use a lot of very strange grammar that makes no sense according to the grammar rules, let's say. Okay, Jonas, I hope that answers your question. Does it? So the question is, if you're using past tense, like I read books, we need to know when. If you're using it and pronouncing it in the present tense, I read books, that's just telling us that's your habit. We assume that it's present tense. Okay. Now, guys, we've got time for a few more questions, so I'm going to clear the board, and I want you to ask me some questions. What's on your mind, guys? Let's see. I have a question for you. Have you heard any strange sentences lately? Like Eunice's example here is what I would call a strange sentence. It's a kind of a grammatical structure he doesn't quite fully grasp, although hopefully now he does. How about you guys? Have you heard any strange sentences lately that you didn't quite understand? I find that's one of the best ways to learn grammar. Looking at a sentence and investigating what's happening in that sentence. I find that's an excellent way for you to learn grammar and learn how it's working to express meaning. I'd also like to take a moment, guys, to mention something. Where is it? No. I'm not sure I have my graphics ready. I'm just going to say, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Hardboiled English or The Grammar Detective. That's YouTube. So go to YouTube at The Grammar Detective, subscribe to the channel, because all of the recordings of Hardboiled English Live go there the next day. So if you miss a part of this or you want to look at old episodes, you can go there and check it out. On that channel, you can also find my long form series, which is called English Weirdness. And I made this with my students. It features 10 30-minute episodes. Each episode explores an in-depth analysis of a single grammar problem. It's entertaining. It's got little stories and little dramas, animation, and really in-depth explanations. So check that out on the YouTube channel. I would also ask you guys to, whatever you're watching on right now, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, share it. Click the share button and send it into your network. One of the things I want to see happen this year is getting more of our friends to watch this show. The more people we can help, the better. Sometimes when I do this show, we don't have a lot of people watching. It's a little disappointing for me because it takes a lot of work and time and even money to put this on. So I really appreciate it if you share this show right now or afterwards. Just click it, share, post it on your network, let your friends know about it. Right? Let your friends know about it. Okay? For those of you who don't know, I am also a private tutor and coach. So if you want private lessons, they are available. You can find out more about me at hardboiledenglish.com. That's my website. There's information there. There's links. You can contact me on the email form. Okay? I need your help. I want to reach people around the world and help them understand grammar, but I can't do it alone because I'm in Canada. People around the world don't know I exist. So please help me share the program, share the channel, post it on your networks, comment, right? If you comment on the YouTube videos, that helps teach YouTube to promote the videos and get them out there. I'm not trying to be famous. I'm not trying to make money. What I'm trying to do is help people around the world, like you guys, who don't know this show exists, right? Right now, I think we have about 16 people watching, and that's great. But I'd like to have 1,600. I'd ultimately love to help more people. Okay? Okay, Eunice, I'm glad to hear that works for you. Okay, here's a question from, I think, Stacy. Let's find it. Where is it? Okay, so these are two different grammar forms of the future. It will rain. That's correct. What that expresses, though, is that you think it will rain. That's a guess, what we call a prediction. Now, you don't control the future, right? Nature does. So, or God, if you're religious. It will rain. I'm not controlling that. So, this is not my plan. I'm not hoping it will rain. I'm not trying to make it rain. I don't control the rain. So, I can only guess. It will rain, I think. It will be raining. Now, this is future, present, continuous. Now, you can use that, but you have to use it with a very specific point in the future. For example, if this is a timeline with present and the future and the past, right? You can say, tomorrow it will rain, I think. I guess, right? But future present progressive or future present continuous, remember what present continuous means. It means happening right now at this moment, but temporary. For example, right now in the present, I am standing in my studio. I am standing in my studio. It's happening right now, but it's temporary. Okay? It will end. But if you look at the screen right now, you will see this. So if we add will, it pushes this action into the future. So, for example, let's say on Monday. On Monday, what will be true? What will you see on Monday? Well, on Monday, I will not be standing. There will not be a show. I'll be sitting at my desk on Monday. Right now, I am standing temporarily, but it's happening right now. But what will be true on Monday? Monday. Well, on Monday, I will be sitting. If you look at in my studio on Monday, that's what you will see. I will be sitting. So these are expressing two different ideas. The first one is just a guess. I think it will rain. I don't know, 50% it will rain. I see clouds, so I'm guessing. But if I use the word Monday, on Monday, it will be raining. That's expressing that at that specific time, something will be happening. When you look, you will see that it will be raining. Now, what's strange about that is that's pretty hard to know in advance, right? It will be raining. Maybe it will, maybe it will not. It's hard to say because you don't control it. But I control where I stand or sit. So I can easily say, on Monday, I will be sitting at my desk. I can see my calendar. I know I have meetings scheduled all day, private one-to-one tutoring meetings with my students. So I can say with some certainty that on Monday, what will you see? I will be sitting, right? So the grammar is fine here, but it's a little bit hard to know exactly what will be true in terms of rain, okay? But both are fine grammar. They just express something different. And that's what good grammar is all about. Grammar is not about following rules. It's about expressing different meanings. Different grammars, different meanings. Different words, different meanings, right? Excellent question. Thank you very much for that, Stacy. Hopefully I answered it. Yeah, they're both correct. They express something a little bit different. Now, the first one's a little bit unusual. Remember I said it will rain is a prediction, right? A guess. We don't usually guess about our own behavior because we have control over it. So if you say, I will go about the future, in the future, I will go, sounds like you're not sure. So usually when we talk about our own actions, our own plans, we don't use I will go because that sounds like a prediction or a guess. You can guess about the rain because you don't control it. It would be more accurate to use I will be going, or I am going, or I am going to go, because that's how we express a plan, right? Now, plans change and the future isn't 100% certain, but your plans can be strong. The problem with will is that it's the first future form that students learn, right? When you're a beginner, they teach you to express the future, say I plus will plus verb. And then students use only that to express the future. It's the first one you learn, but it's not the most commonly used one. That's the one that's used for guessing about the future. And again, we guess about other people's actions. We guess about nature, right? We don't usually guess about our own actions. We make plans. I'm going to visit Japan next year. That's my plan, right? That's the difference. But they're both correct grammar. But again, it's not a question of following the rules. It's a question of we have two correct grammars. Which one do we use? We use the one that expresses the meaning that we're thinking. That's what grammar is all about, guys. Yes, I understand, Chris. Thank you for that. I know you're a great supporter. Chris has watched this show from the very first one in 2020, more than 100 episodes back. Chris has always been here with us. So I appreciate your support always, Chris. Thank you, Pallavi. Great. I really appreciate that, guys, because, you know, We need people to watch the show and support the show. That's the bottom line. I can't do it. I can't let the show become so unpopular that it's like a private lesson. It's a private lesson for the people that watch it. I want to help more people. So I need your help. I need you to help me share the videos, share my channel, share this live stream so we can get more people participating. Wilson. Yes, Jiffy is a funny. In Jiffy, my mother used to say "jiff" in a jiff. I'm not sure where that comes from, Wilson, but it does mean in a hurry, in a quick time, right? It's a funny expression, in a jiff. I'll do it in a jiff or in a sec. When I was a child, a lot of us would say in a sec. My mother would call us dinner time, come on. And my sister and I would say in a sec, meaning in a second. Give us more time. Oh, thank you, Pallavi. That's very sweet of you to say. I do understand that the time zone is an issue, right? I know a lot of you are in Belgium, in Europe, it's very late at night. And in Asia, it's early morning on Saturday. Other countries, it's in the late evening. South America, I understand it's tricky to be able to watch this, and it's Friday night. Who wants to study on Friday night when you've been studying all week or working all week? Usually, Friday night is for relaxing with your friends or your family, maybe going to a party. But for me to do this every week, it has to be convenient for me. I can't live stream during the week because that's when I work with my private students. I can't live stream on the weekend because that's when I spend time with my friends and family and do other projects. So when can I do this? Well, the only time I can do it is on Friday evening. And I've experimented with the times, later Friday evening, earlier, and the only time that seems to work for most people is around 4, 5, 6 p.m. So I do understand and appreciate the challenge of watching this show. There are some teachers who live stream in the morning or the middle of the day. I just can't do it. And I want to be able to deliver the show every week consistently, except when the computer burns or, by the way, I should mention, coming up in July and August, the show will shut down as we did last summer. And the reason is quite simple. I stream this from my home studio, and my home gets direct sunlight in the late afternoon. And you may not believe this, but where I live in Canada in the summer, it's extremely hot and sunny. Very clear, beautiful blue sky, but that sunshine comes in here and turns my home studio into an oven. And I also have studio lights here. The reason is I need to be able to light the whiteboard clearly so you can see the writing without all these shadows, right? So that's why you don't see a lot of shadows, because I have studio lights. So it gets very hot in here. So July and August, I simply can't do it. I tried it in my first year and I was just melting. If you look at some of those episodes from 2020, summer episodes, I could barely breathe. It was so hot in here, but I tried it. I can't do that anymore. It's getting to the point where it's dangerous. So Pallavi, I do understand why people have to miss it. Hopefully they can catch up and watch the recording. As soon as this show is done, guys, I post the recording permanently on YouTube. Okay. I take it away from Facebook so everyone can go to YouTube. I try to make YouTube my center of all videos. It's a better platform for that. So when you will go to visit Japan, I will be going to Canada. Is this a good example? It's not bad, but you have two clauses here. And the first clause is your time clause. When you will go to visit Japan, comma, I will be going to Canada. Now, in the time clause, you don't use the future tense. You just say, when you go to visit Japan, or when you visit Japan, comma, I will be going to Canada, because this is trying to point out the time. It's not telling you, it's not expressing that this action will happen. You're using this clause to express the future moment, like here, right? Uh, uh, when Monday comes, it will be raining, or on Monday, it will be raining. Those are time clauses or time adverbials. So don't use will here. Just say, when you go to visit, or when you visit Japan, I will be going to Canada. I will be going to Canada is our main clause. It's the independent clause. It's the main idea. This just tells us when. Thank you, Renato. I appreciate that. How's our time looking, guys? We're almost out of time. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to save that question for next Friday, okay, Pallavi? I promise I'll answer it on Friday. Yeah. And again, Eunice, the first clause in that sentence, this isn't really expressing the future action. This is expressing the time in the future. Remember what I used in the past tense? I said, when I was a child. That clause is just telling us when something, right? When you say when, where am I here? Yeah, when you start with when, this part becomes the time information. It's not really the main action. So it's not really an action that needs a future tense. Okay? Yeah, unless is going to take a bit more time, Pallavi. So I promise I'll address that on Friday. English grammar is complicated. It really is. As I've said before, English is not a pure language. It was never designed. It grew over history, and it grew with a strong influence of other languages that from countries that invaded Old England. France invaded England and mixed French language in. Germany invaded England and mixed Germanic language in. Um, and the Roman Empire dominated England for a long time and mixed Latin. So we have all these grammar systems working together, trying to work together. And it creates a lot of exceptions, a lot of complexity, and a lot of irregularity. That's the problem with English, right? As I recall, if I'm not mistaken, Stacy, the Korean language, Hangul, was designed by a scholar, the great Sojong, I think. The king told him to design a language for the common people to learn. So he sat down and designed and planned a language. So it's very regular. It has one series of rules. And once you know the rules, they are consistent. That's not English. English was never designed or planned. It just grew with all of these influences. The result is it's very irregular, very hard to use. But the beautiful thing about English is because it doesn't follow its own rules, it doesn't need to follow its own rules, it's very creative and flexible. So once you get control of it, it has the great ability to be creative. I believe that's why English language has produced so much literature, so many music lyrics, because it's so creative and flexible, because it doesn't have to follow strict rules. It's very flexible. You can twist it and turn it and bend it and crack it. Thank you, Pallavi. When the party starts, I will be cooking dinner at home. Exactly. This is a time clause, so we don't say when the party will start. This is the main action. This needs the future tense. This is the action that will happen in the future. When? This is when. Good. Okay. Yes, present simple expresses fact, like water freezes. Water freezes at 0 degrees. That's a scientific fact. It can express a general fact, not really fact, but a general truth, like I like baseball. She likes tennis. Okay, that's not scientific fact, but it's true all the time for that person. We also use simple present tense, or present simple as you call it, for habits. Every day, she eats breakfast. Every day, I study English, right? And habits and routines are similar, right? Habits are things you do usually because you want to, sometimes because you just automatically do them. Routines are things that happen all the time at regular intervals. Sometimes you want them to happen, sometimes you don't. For example, every Tuesday, my apartment building cuts the garden and it's very loud. So every Tuesday, they cut or trim the garden. Okay, that's a routine. It's not my habit. I hate it. It's really loud. So that's simple present. Simple present doesn't mean happening right now, right? That's present continuous. Yes, Eunice, English is very commonly used around the world. That's why it's important to learn it. And that's why I want to help you guys learn it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for joining me tonight. I want you to start thinking about your grammar questions for next week. And I'll answer Pallavi's, and we'll talk more about grammar next week. The following week, we have a special guest joining us. Next week will be more for your questions. So think about your questions, right? Often students don't have questions when they come to the live stream, but maybe you had a question during the week. So either email it to me, right down here, email it to me during the week, or write it down on paper and bring it to the live stream, okay? Yvonne, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you coming. Thank you, everybody. I'll say good night now. Thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure to help you learn English. It's my great honor to be able to do this with you guys. And again, I hope you share with all your friends, because I want to do this and share with more and more people so we can all work together and not only learn the complexities of grammar, but learn to enjoy it. Grammar is not just a bunch of rules we have to follow. Grammar is a tool that expresses specific meanings. And that's my goal, is to help you express yourself, express your ideas, express your opinions, be heard in the world. To do that, we need the right grammar to express the right idea. Okay? So hopefully that can be fun. Until I see you next time, guys, I want you to stay healthy, keep learning English, and as always, I want you to stay cool. Thanks for watching tonight's show. If you have an English grammar question, an English mystery, contact me on social media and send me a video of you asking the question. I'll investigate it on a future show. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button to get all the updates about videos and events. If you're feeling generous, you can also donate to the production costs of the show at Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. Finally, until the next time I see you on Hard Boiled English Live, I want you to keep learning English. Stay healthy and stay cool.